It's me. So, on this endless journey we call music production, it always seems like I'm struggling with something at least a little. It feels like a rotating carousel of struggle, with each seat being an aspect of music production. Okay, maybe not the best analogy. Anyway, lately for me, it's been melodies. There's nothing to fear here though. When I'm struggling with something, my strategy is typically to face it head on. That is, to start every track for a while with that problem area, unless it's mixing, arranging, or mastering. Let me give you an example. When I was working on my last video, which centered around the mighty Thor, I got to know the Thor by making 4 80s inspired or synthwave style tracks using only Thors for the synths. Like as an exercise. Get to know the Thor, see what kind of patches I would make, that sort of thing. My patrons got to see me go over these tracks as a way to deep dive on the Thor, so head over to my Patreon if you want to check that out. I realized I wasn't getting the melodies I was looking for, and that this genre kind of demands, so I decided to make them both an exercise in getting better at the genre, this kind of 80s synthwave style, and also getting better at melodies in general. So what was my strategy? Let's take a look. Here's one of the tracks I implemented my plan on, and here's the melody I ended up with. I'll play the chorus for you. I arrived at this melody through trial and error. I started the track by writing 10 melodies and I picked the best one. Now, in writing these melodies, I really tried to just free flow. That is to say, I wasn't trying to write in any specific key or even any specific tempo. Then I went back after a break and listened to them all and chose the one I thought was the most catchy. The next thing I had to do was figure out what key I was in. So I looked at the MIDI and saw this F and F sharp next to each other and thought maybe I could be in F Phrygian. So I used the scale mode in Ableton, and sure enough, all the notes were sitting in the right place. In case you are using Reason proper, you can achieve the same thing using a scales and chords device. Turn the chord section off and enable this filter notes feature. This will block incoming notes that aren't in the selected scale. Cycle through the scales until you can hear all the notes of your melody. Now, if you're new to melody, you may need to move some notes around a bit. Next, I pulled up a Thor and a Chord Sequencer with a Scales and Chords module after it to lock everything into F Phrygian. I did that because you can tell Chord Sequencer what key to write in, but you can't tell it what mode to write in. Anyway, you probably noticed that there are 3 chord sequencers here. That's because I used trial and error here too. I sequenced 3 chord progressions using 3 different presets or styles, and then I picked the best one and recorded the MIDI into the sequencer. I ended up with this progression. Here's the same chords arpeggiated. And boom, the foundation for a track. To further this idea, I even did the same with the drums. I loaded up some instances of battery with each category of drums. kick, snare, hi-hats, etc. I used trial and error to narrow down the drum kit for this track and the other 80s inspired tracks I made that week. This idea extends to the fact that I wrote multiple tracks that week to get 2 that I think sound pretty good. If you see it that way, then you can really take the pressure off yourself. So there you have it. Facing your problems is probably a good idea in life and in your creative endeavors. And trial and error is your friend. So keep making music, keep climbing that mountain. Oh, and special shout out to Chris Mills and Summer Bailey for supporting this channel on Patreon. I hope you're enjoying the extra content and the patches and whatnot. Like I said, music production is a mountain and you just got to keep on climbing. One of the tricks to it is finding new ways to vary the core ideas of your tracks and keep your arrangement interesting. Check this video out right here to see some interesting ways to use expanders and gates to change things up. Love ya.